I'm so excited to welcome the unofficial mascot of Portland and the embodiment of keeping Portland weird, Brian Kidd, also known as the Unipiper. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, David.
And how did all this stuff come together? There's a lot that's going on here.
It started when I was learning to play the bagpipes. I found a unicycle in a dumpster. And I picked that up and taught myself to ride. And then within a year or so, I realized I could be doing those two hobbies at the same time.
As you do?
As you do, yeah. And then from there, it just snowballed. Over the next few years, I learned how to play Star Wars on the bagpipes and added the Darth Vader costume. And then one time, some lady was watching me perform, and she was like, "This is impressive and everything, but where's the fire?" And that's where the fire came from.
Nice. And how did you get fire on your bagpipes?
I like to tell people I use the Force, but I have a friend who does pyrotechnics for a living, so it was easy to work with somebody, you know.
Nice. Did you have visions of the Unipiper? I mean, were you just trying to go this direction, or did it just happen organically?
It went where it felt natural. You know, I kind of one thing led to another, and I think being in Portland was a big part, or has been a big part of the success of the Unipiper.
Mm-hmm. And it's taken you, I mean, all over.
I've literally traveled the world doing this now. Mm-hmm. I last year was invited to perform at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland. The year before that, I was in Copenhagen, Denmark. I've been to Celtic festivals in Canada before. I'm hopefully looking forward to be going to Japan next year. So yeah, it's this weird, something that I feel that I created is uniquely Portland, mm-hmm. but there's seemingly a lot of interest outside of Portland in this unique combination of skills as well.
In the intro, I said you're kind of the embodiment of keeping Portland weird. Do you feel like that?
It's what people tell me, and you hear something enough and you start to believe it. And personally, I feel like it's become something greater than the sum of the parts, and it's greater than anything I ever thought it would be. But I definitely, it's almost something that is out of my hands and is something that is more belonging to the city than it is to me at this point. So I do feel a big responsibility to keep doing this as long as people are enjoying it, and it seems to be something that puts a lot of joy into people's lives here in Portland.
Tell me about you said you feel a sense of responsibility. That's a heavy word. What is that? I mean, where does that come from?
I constantly have people contact me on the internet telling me, "Hey, I'm coming to visit Portland, and one of the things that we want to see the most is the Unipiper." When you have people tell you that, there's I don't know, it's a lot to process at first, and I don't know if I knew what to do with that. I'm to a certain extent still trying to figure out what to do with this power in a certain way. But I want to do something responsible with it, and have it be something that people can look up to. There is a lot of attention being focused onto Portland right now, and if I can provide something positive for people to see when they turn their gaze towards Portland, I feel that that's a responsibility that a challenge I can take on. And
has the Unipiper have you gotten into any shenanigans in Portland?
It's constant shenanigans with the Unipiper in Portland. It's always what can I get away with today, and how can I not hurt anyone doing it?
Do you get recognized without the mask?
Very seldom. That's another really neat thing about the Unipiper is that I do performances in all sorts of different costumes, but a lot of them, and Darth Vader in particular, is probably what I'm most well known for. But a lot of those costumes involve a mask. So most people think that it's a secret identity, and I don't want my face out there. That's not necessarily the case, but so people will see me take a mask off and they'll gasp, and either because they didn't think they were supposed to see my face, or it's just not at all what they were expecting. But it is kind of neat to be able to put the Unipiper aside and sort of turn it off when I don't need it. And that has led to some interesting moments, in the bars around town when I'll be out and hear someone watching one of my videos. And, I can either just sit there and smile, or sometimes I'll walk over there and introduce myself and make for an awkward interaction.
They don't buy you a drink?
Oh, that happens as well.
Good,
yeah.
good.
Yeah, of course.
Just making sure people are
Yeah,
taking
no,
care of
I
you.
use that to my advantage.
Right. Are you married? Are you single?
I am married. I was first introduced to my wife while I was performing as the Unipiper.
Interesting. How? By the way, how?
It was a Saturday in July at the Portland Saturday Market, and I was performing there, and it was a very hot day, and after I was done performing, someone had left an iced tea next to my tip jar for a tip, and I picked that up and was going to try and find out who had left it there, and just about this time the cops were hustling me away. Apparently there was another bagpiper that had been performing at the Saturday Market the previous week, and he was being very disrespectful, and so they thought that I was him. Case of mistaken identity with bagpipes, you get that a lot.
Yeah. I can imagine.
So anyways, my future wife saw this happening, and she was like, "Oh, maybe I don't want to talk to this guy if he's already talking to the police." But long story short, we ended up getting matched on eHarmony later that week, and
And you had something to talk about.
Yeah. Whenever the Unipiper gets in the way of our marriage in some sort of way, I always remind her that she knew what she was getting into from the start.
So what's the future hold for you?
I as the Unipiper, I never know what's next, and it's usually the last thing that I would ever guess. But I do have a couple of projects I'm working on now. I'm doing a couple of collaborations with the city of Portland to promote tourism and shopping during the holiday season. And then I'm also just getting started on a brand new podcast called Portland at the Movies. And with my two friends, Mark Middleton and Todd Workhoven, of another podcast called the Mark and Toddcast. Together, the three of us are taking an in-depth look at some of the best and, more importantly, the worst movies filmed in and around Portland. And we're gonna have a lot of fun. We got a really good list of films, and you start looking at some of the stuff filmed in Portland, and it's actually a really interesting and very surprising list.
So there's more than just kind of the Goonies.
Yeah, that's what most people think, but it's a pretty deep list, and it's gonna be really entertaining. But you can check that out. It's gonna be at portlandatthemovies.com.
Perfect. Very good. Brian Kidd, the Unipiper. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Fantastic having you. Thank you.
I'll collect all my belongings as I leave.
As you go. We're really excited to have Portland-based drummer Shook Black here to perform. Our next guest is best known as a political activist, here to talk to us about his newest group that's been formed called Portland's Resistance. I'm very excited to introduce and welcome Gregory McKelvey. Thanks for coming in. Greg,
Yes.
can I call you Greg?
Yes, whatever you
For
want.
Gregory?
My dad has the same name as me, and Greg McKelvey, and I'd rather the death threats be directed at me. So I usually in public go by Gregory, but it's me and you call me Greg.
Cool. You're getting a lot of death threats right now?
Daily, like 20 a day.
How do they reach you?
My phone blows up all day. Like, I need to find a way to block unknown numbers. In my email, my Twitter, and my Facebook, it's like, when I see you, I'm gonna kill you, like, all day, every day. But, like, it comes with the territory, right? And like, I'll die for this easily.
Tell me about what you're doing right now with Portland's Resistance.
So I've been an activist here in Portland for a long time, as one of the main organizers with Don't Shoot Portland, as well as I have a political science and a history degree and a law degree. So I've been working in politics as a career, running political campaigns. I've also been a protester for a long time. I work closely with Portland Tenants United as well. I've been a protester for a long time, and so I joined the protests that were at first happening, and we're on the bridge, crossing the bridge, and everybody's looking to me like, what do we do next? Where are we gonna do this tomorrow also? Where are we going? This and that, because I've led marches and done this before. And a lot of these people that are out now in these streets have never done anything like this before. And they wanted direction. And so I made this Portland Resistance Facebook page, and within it's 3 days old now, and we have like over 11,000 likes. We scheduled our first official Portland Resistance protest, and the police eventually declared what was going on in the streets to be a riot. And we wanted to send the message that we were completely peaceful, so we started a GoFundMe to make sure that we could, my main goal in doing that is, yes, we need to rebuild the city and the destruction that happened, but I also understand that a lot of these businesses, for one, like these banks and stuff, are soulless institutions, and my main goal is to make those types of institutions obsolete. At the same time, this is my city, born and raised. So I want to make sure that small and local businesses and the workers that are affected by the damage, or single mothers that are affected by traffic being blocked. I've been telling you, if you need a day off of work because you were stuck in traffic and you couldn't go to sleep that night or you were scared, let me know. I'll pay your wages for that day, and also help to provide childcare and pay for that. So that's why we made the GoFundMe, just so we could help rebuild our community. And in that's 2 days old, and we're at 50,000. But I'm prepared for this, and I feel like this is the moment I was waiting for, and I'm glad to see that Portland is at the forefront of the resistance.
So I've been keeping up as best I can.
Sure.
And there've been a couple critiques that I've seen, and I'm curious about your response to some of them. One of them is that the protesters don't have an aim or direction, that it's just protesting. And I realize that that's not true, because there's a list of goals or demands, or how do you put it?
We have to prepare for a Donald Trump presidency, and I think it's a waste of time to spend our energy in trying to prevent a Donald Trump presidency. The time for that was last Tuesday. Donald Trump is going to be our next president, and hopefully he's impeached, but unless he is, we have to deal with it for 4 years. So we're not protesting specifically to stop Donald Trump from being president. And I can't speak for everybody that's out on the streets, but my group was made to try and insulate Portland from the policies of Donald Trump. So there are things like, we have progressive politicians. We consistently elect people that run as progressives, and then they govern as establishment neoliberals. And there are things that people have been talking about in the city forever, such as making sure we have clean air. We have some of the worst air in the country. It might look okay, but that's because in the 70s we got the stuff that looked bad out and allowed people to put the stuff that makes us feel bad in. We need rent control and an end to the ban on rent control and an end to no-cause evictions. We need to end the racial disparity in our city. I mean, 64% of the people that are put into the gang enforcement list are black people, when our city is less than 10% black. So I mean, it's unconscionable to think that's the case, that we're setting aside a different class of people that need to be surveilled in a different way. I'm on the gang enforcement task list, and I'm not a gang member. When we have Black Lives Matter marches, gang enforcement shows up. I mean, there's so many issues that we need to talk about and address in our city, and I think a majority of the people in our city are with us in that we need rent control, we need to deal with our housing crisis, we need to find safe places for the houseless, we need clean air, we need to ensure that Black Lives Matter in our community, we need to be an inclusive place for refugees and immigrants. I think a majority of our city is on that. We need to make aware that a majority of our politicians are not accelerating us towards that whatsoever. So we need to keep the pressure on, and what protests do is it gives us leverage in the city. I don't want to be in the streets every night because it sucks. I hate being beat by the cops. I hate being pepper sprayed. I don't want to be there. And the cops don't want us out there, and the politicians don't want us out there. And what that is, that's leverage. So now we transition the conversation into policy. If you don't want us on the streets, don't yell at us to get us off the streets. Change the policy so we can make Portland a better place for everybody, so we can insulate ourselves from a Donald Trump presidency, so that we can be a beacon of light in what's going to be a dark America under Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. And that really speaks really well to another one of the criticisms and questions that I've seen a lot of people pose on both sides of the political spectrum, is that the vast majority of people in Portland voted for Hillary Clinton and not Donald Trump, which, and you said yourself that the majority of people here probably support the demands and goals that Portland Resistance has. And yet the people here who support it are also the same ones who get inconvenienced by traffic, who experience the protests. I mean, how do you reconcile those sorts of things? What do you have to say to those people? How does your protesting, while it might be an inconvenience to them, also benefit them?
So it's a really loaded question. I will say, I understand it's inconvenient to be stuck in traffic, but it's really inconvenient to be Black in Portland, and it's much more inconvenient to be part of the LGBTQ community, to be an immigrant, to be a Muslim, to be a person of color, or a disabled person in a Donald Trump presidency. So if your priority is over your commute, hit me up and I'll send your sick note to your boss. But if your priority is your commute over marginalized communities, then you really need to reprioritize, and I have no sympathy to that. I do have sympathy to being stuck in traffic, because I get stuck in traffic because of protests sometimes, and it pisses me off. But you know what? If we weren't blocking traffic, if we were sitting on the sidewalk, I wouldn't be here today talking to you. Nobody would have to listen to us. There would be no conversation about this. So we are driving the conversation because there are protests going on. Also, Howard Zinn said protest beyond the sanction of the law is not a departure from democracy. It's absolutely essential to it. The people that are yelling about getting stuck in traffic are the same people that in 1770 whatever were yelling at people throwing off the T, like, what? The taxes aren't that bad, So, I don't have that much sympathy towards counter-protesters. That being said, when we're talking about Hillary Clinton, the majority of us voted for Hillary Clinton. She's part of the problem. We have a bunch of Hillary Clintons in our city government. I myself was a delegate to the National Convention for Bernie Sanders, and I helped lead the walkout at the convention for Hillary Clinton. And I will admit, I did vote for Hillary Clinton out of fear, but I did walk out on her at the convention because we need candidates of the people. And I think that the Democrats need to get the message that if you don't want to be obsolete in this country, you need to listen to the Bernie Sanders of the world and stop sabotaging the people's candidates. But like I said, we have a bunch of Hillary Clintons and establishment politicians that call themselves progressives, and I call false progressives in our city government, and we need to push them to the left. Hillary Clinton was for the TPP before there was a Bernie Sanders, and then she wasn't. So if she would have became president, she would have had to be against the TPP. We need to put that kind of pressure on our local people to move them to the left, and if you don't, we need to vote you out, and that's what happened to Steve Novick.
So good. Mark. Yeah, no, you can clap, yeah. No clapping in here. Yes, you can fucking clap. All right, I've got one more.
Shoot it.
I'll try not to make this one loaded.
I got some breakfast places too.
Sorry, it wasn't even that one. But we'll go to there, okay? Looking at your movement and at the protests, overwhelmingly peaceful, and yet there's some element we don't know. The media says anarchists. I hear vandals is I think what you had call them vandals, right? And that's what they are. And regardless of what we call them, that's what everybody ends up talking about the next day. What is that like? How do you combat that?
I think it's important to condemn violence and destruction, and that's what I do. And I think it's also my job to lead by example. People say, what you should be doing more. Somebody smashing stuff with a baseball bat, it would be entirely irresponsible for me to direct my followers to go intervene with that person physically. What I say is remove yourself from that. I also think it's not my job as a leader to censor anybody else's activism. Martin Luther King said that a riot is the language of the unheard. And we need to not just condemn the violence, but we have to talk about why do those people feel unheard. And that's where we need to focus on why is that happening? Why are these people so angry? And I think they have legitimate reasons to be angry. And I view my job to channel that anger towards something positive, towards progress. But I understand it. Sometimes I wake up and I want to smash something, and I don't because I have a role here in this community, but I understand it, and we need to not just condemn it, which I do, but we need to talk about the reasons why. That being said, it's unfair to blame a political ideology in anarchists because I know there's like a negative stigmatization towards that, but I've been an activist here for a long time, and I don't subscribe to that ideology. I actually think I'm more of just a Portland liberal. There are times where they help me so much, anarchists, and the media has tried to divide us and say, you know, it's us versus the anarchists and stuff like that. And I hope that the media and the police stop calling the vandalism and destruction that happens, blaming it on anarchists. It's vandals and it's individuals that do that, not certain groups. And I understand that's going to be the story every single day. But what I would invite people is to come talk to me because I'm not a jerk, I'm a nice guy, right? So like all these people, I'm getting all these death threats. Why are you inciting all this violence? Why are you so destructive, this and that? And I think what our country needs is a healthy dose of empathy and a healthy dose of trying to understand. And instead of just condemning the violence, trying to understand why those people are being violent. We're doing such first level analysis. That was violent, I don't like it. Cool. Why? Why don't you like it? Why did it happen? And keep asking the whys and addressing that, not just condemning what you don't like.
Perfect. You want to spoil a spot real quick?
Sure. I'm vegan, personally, so like I eat at Jam on Hawthorne like every morning.
Perfect. Greg, thank you so much for
Of
coming
course.
in and talking.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back. So we're live and in service, and Portland Late Night wishes to thank our sponsors without whom none of this would be possible. We've got Service Studios, first off, for providing the venue, Koerner Camera, who's taking care of all of the amazing camera gear that we have. We've got Gearhead Grip, which I don't normally look like this. I normally look way worse than this, and so much of that is due to just amazing lighting. Oh God, please don't throw that at me. Oh, okay, we've got some Pabst Blue Ribbon. So everyone who attended has been able to drink all day, and Water Avenue Coffee. In fact, we have a few extra bags here of coffee. So if you are the first person to get your hand up, we will throw those out to you. So I got one back there, and there you go, Chris, and one over there. So thank you very much to Water Avenue. I also want to send out a huge thanks to our crew, everybody that's helped put this show on. We've got Sean Connolly, Jake Huddleston, Jesse Nordhausen, Siegfried Seeliger, D'Angelo Rains, Pippin Beard, Kristen Kingsbury, as well as our house musician, Matthew Porter. So a huge round of applause and a huge thanks to all of those people. Without that, we don't have a show. And also a huge thanks to all of our guests, everybody that came in and put their time into it and supported what we are trying to do. So thank you very much, everybody.